I'm thrilled to announce that this season's sponsor, Ruby, is a personal favourite of mine. It is the premium at-home beauty and wellness services platform. Ruby works with an incredible network of expert professional beauty and wellness therapists that can be booked directly to your home to deliver a host of treatments, from blow dries to manicures, makeup and massages. Ruby vets all of their therapists, and I cannot fault the quality. I've been using the services for many years, and I've always had a 5-star experience. In a world where we're so busy, with limited time available to have our much-needed treatments, Ruby allows you to get your time back in the luxury of your own home. Whether it's a 7 a.m. pre-work blow-dry, a relaxing evening facial, a last-minute spray tan, even IV drips which you can book up to 60 minutes in advance in London, Manchester, Liverpool and now Zurich too. Since launch, Ruby has firmly positioned itself as the leading luxury on-demand beauty services app and has fans including Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, Robbie and Ida Williams and Abby Clancy, and has been approved by the most discerning of beauty editors. The Ruby app is available on the App Store and Play Store. You can also book your treatments online via their website. It is super simple to use, and when you book, use the code STYLEDNA for £20 off your first treatment. Today, I'm going on a sartorial journey with author, brand ambassador, writer, illustrator, and digital creator, Jim Chapman. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Well,
that's an intro, isn't it? Blimey.
Well, I mean, you're very, very qualified to be here and talk about.
I've been
many,
making it
many
up as
things.
I go along.
Well, let's make it up then. I mean, you are working on a raft of different projects. I mean, you've got M&S, Mercedes, various alcohol brands.
Right.
I mean, what are you most excited about at the moment?
I'm really happy to be back at it. I've had some time, I keep saying like off-ish, in that I continued to exist, but I wasn't doing so much because I was making babies. Well, my wife was making the babies. I was,
yes.
yeah. But, you know, they're kind of up and running now, so I'm back at work. And I'm actually just really excited to know that I still exist, because you become a parent, and that's kind of, to begin with, when you're in the trenches, that's all you become. And I'm really happy to sort of now have more of me back. So there's no specific thing that I'm particularly over the moon about. There's a couple of projects I'm working on at the moment that I can't actually talk about, partly because they're not real projects yet. I'm waiting on a few things, so I don't want to talk
Not
about
inked.
them. Yeah, so I don't want to talk about them and then them not happen.
Yeah.
They're really potentially very exciting. But otherwise, for the most part, I'm just happy to be back at it and have a bit more of like my identity on top of being dad. You know, I love being dad, but there is much more to me than simply being parent.
Of course. I mean, you have collaborated with M&S, it seems, for quite a while. How does that work?
So I work with them for this year. I mean, I will continue to work with them whether they like it or not, because the stuff is fantastic.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's so considered. It's so well thought out. They've got their finger on the pulse. It fits really well. I think that some people have a bit of a connotation about high street in that capacity, whereas it's kind of fast and it won't last long. Everything I've had from them has stayed with me. Like the quality, the merino wool that they have I've got everything in pretty much every color because it's just so good. But it's really up my street in terms of the sartorial nature. It's clean, it's simple, it's pretty elegant, and it just ticks all my boxes, but for a much better price point.
Would you ever want to do any sort of a fashion collaboration with them, for example?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I get asked this sort of question a lot, and I think it would be much better for me to do it alongside a brand and do a thing with them, as opposed to my own. I get a lot of people say, hey, when are you going to bring your own brand out? And I'm not, because if men buy like me, they buy loyally. And so I'd have to steal them off people, which is a much bigger ask than just making a brand that's really cool and of the moment, because cool and of the moment doesn't last. It only lasts for that moment. And so a lot of what I wear is pretty timeless. In order to then take those customers from somewhere else, I need to provide a better offering. And I don't think that I'd be able to produce it at the quality I'd like to produce it at the scale on my own. So it makes much more sense to partner with someone else.
Very sensible, I can say. It's a really complex industry,
Right.
and the high street I keep saying this, it's never been a better time
Right.
for the high street because they're doing such an
Yeah.
incredible job.
Yeah. I also kind of know what I don't know, and
Yeah.
I'm really creative. I'm not good at business. I couldn't do it on my own. I just don't understand. Whenever people talk to me about like business and money, it turns me off. I just go to sleep. So I would need someone in charge of that side of things, and I just want to make stuff.
Yeah. Good agent.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were one of the original YouTubers.
Right.
How did that come about?
By accident.
Well, but how?
So my big sisters, who people may know as Pixie Woo,
Yep.
both really successful makeup artists. Really, they were both working makeup artists at the time. And then my eldest sister Sam was pregnant with her. I think I can't remember if it was her first or second daughter. Either way, someone asked her how to do a look, and she's like, "I can't get to you because I'm really heavily pregnant. So and also a bit bored because I'm just sat." So she filmed herself doing it and posted it online. I don't know if she even thought other people could see it at the time. And then a few people watched it, and she's like, "Oh, that's a really fun activity for me to do while I'm feeling really sort of just pregnant." And then it started to grow, really, really small. But it was a nice outlet for her. Meanwhile, I had just graduated and expected to go out and conquer the world, but realised that actually I had no love left for what I was studying. And also...
Which was psychology.
Psychology, yeah.
I want to come on to that actually in a minute.
And also, at the level I had it, as just a degree, in order to do anything really cool with it, like the good stuff that I was really excited by, like criminology or forensics or like the fun ones, I'd have to go back and do a master's. So I started to do that. I was doing a master's, but I was paying for it myself. So I was doing it part-time over 2 years rather than in one go. And I was working full-time in retail and insurance and that sort of stuff. And I had no creative outlet at the time. So I saw what my sisters were doing, and then it's so easy. You just talk to a camera. So I gave it a go. Was not expecting anything to happen. And then after a while, I met a group of people who were roughly my age, who were also doing it. And we became friends. And then that's when the audience really kicked off, because I think they enjoyed watching us develop our relationships and become pals and travel the world together and do all these things.
And roughly what year was that?
I've been doing it nearly 15 years, and I reckon the first 2 years or so were very underground.
Yeah.
It was just me chatting to people and producing content for no gain whatsoever. It was just for the creativity.
And you posted that on Instagram?
This is before Instagram existed.
Yeah, I was going to say,
right.
That's before.
Yeah.
So then that was straight onto
onto
YouTube.
Yeah.
And then Instagram and Facebook came along.
Yeah, so I mean, Facebook's been there for a while, but even then I wasn't really using it because it's never really been the right audience for me. And then Instagram came along, and I was there like the day it came out. That's how old I am. And my audience, our audience, got to see us all develop and grow. And whatever happens now, there's never going to be that moment again. There are people now who dwarf me in terms of size of audience, but that was the first time in history that an audience of people were willing to invest online to a group of people. And as a result, a lot of those people are still the same people who have now grown up. They've got kids. They're working in different jobs. They live very different lives to when they were 14-year-olds, watching me.
So are you saying that you think it was easier to build a following then?
Yeah, I do. I think it was easy. I also think that because it was new and it was exciting, it was organic. Like people watched us. I always say we were the best of a bad bunch. There was no one else doing it. So people were like, oh, this is fun, this is exciting. And it was just purely for adventure. There was no money in it at the time. That came a bit later. We weren't selling anything to anybody. We weren't making ads. We were just sharing our experience. And so it's so innocent.
Clothing experience as well as life experience?
That came a bit later, yeah. I mean, to begin with, it was silly challenges and just traveling around with my friends. But I've always had a real interest in style. And as my audience sort of started growing up with me, I was, I can talk about the things that I'm interested in. I'm not just a vessel to provide gimmicks and entertainment. Actually, they care about my opinion. So as a result, I started working in various different worlds. So fashion was one. I started writing for GQ and going to fashion shows. I used to do a lot of hosting and presenting at premieres because I really care about film. And that for me was kind of the beginning of taking my audience on sort of my own personal journey of my existence, as opposed to just creating content to entertain them. And I've been so fortunate that, fingers crossed, so far they've come along with me on some pretty epic journeys.
Well, there's a hell of a lot that have come along with you.
Yeah.
Were you ever tempted to buy any followers? Because there was a whole time back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't even know that existed for a while. No, because I care less about the number of people that are next to my name. You see Jim Chapman on Instagram, and I've got 2.5 million people who follow me on there. I care less about that and more about the interaction. And if you buy followers, they'll increase your number, but they won't actually increase any of the other statistics.
Yep.
And that's what's important. In fact, there's an issue where you got too many followers and not enough people engaging.
Yep.
That it looks wrong. And so, one, I didn't know it was a thing until there was drama around it. And two, it's just I don't know. I have no ego about my job. It's what I do for a living. It's not who I am as a person. I take it home with me in as much as anybody else does with work stresses, but it doesn't define me, So the number next to my name doesn't really have much consequence on my sense of worth. So it's never really been a thing I've thought about.
And what do you think is the next chapter in the influencing sphere?
I feel like it's reaching critical mass. I think there are so many issues with it, because I'm a bit biased, I think, because I've seen it from its very, very beginnings. And like I said before, it was about adventure, and it was innocent, and it was just loads of fun. It feels like now people are trying to sell you stuff all the time, but it also feels like people are so desperate to become an influencer or get success from social media that they're willing to do more than ever and push the boundaries, and it's not always very healthy. And I also have concerns for everybody involved, the people who make the content, who feel the pressure of constantly trying to achieve, because as soon as they stop, someone else takes their place, and they're getting younger and younger. So if you're only in your teens or your early 20s, and then you've had a following and you've let it slip, or through entropy or a change in the algorithm, you're no longer important. What do you do next? At such a young age, after having experienced this success, then what happens? But also for the people who are online, we're encouraged to spend more and more time scrolling. And this again is where my degree comes in. Like, it's not a coincidence that all of these platforms look the same and operate the same, because every time you scroll, you get like a little bit of dopamine in your brain, a little bit of like happy chemical. But ultimately, you end up net negative because you aren't doing anything that's actually constructive. If you go and do a task that's actually quite boring and menial, like fill the dishwasher, for example, you'll end up with a bigger dose of the good stuff in your brain because you've completed a task. Even if it's a boring task, throw in some good stuff in there, like, a walk or a cuddle or a workout or time with people, and you end up with a happier brain. So ultimately, it is making people less happy.
Yeah.
And so I think we're reaching critical mass. I think there's more people creating content out there than people can consume. And I think that it cannot sustain everybody out there being an influencer, because who's influencing who if we're all doing it, right? And I like to think, I'm hopeful that down the line there will be legislation around usage, but also identity. If people can post whatever they want anonymously under content. I'm quite lucky because I've got really thick skin, but also I don't get loads of hate because my stuff is fairly, it's not extreme, it's sort of fairly generic and it's wholesome. But if you're out there posting opinions, for example, you can get quite a lot of hate under it, and people will just, because they are anonymous, I think it will hopefully come down to a case of proving who you are, uploading your driver's license or passport or whatever, and that way you have consequences for the stuff you write, and I think that would make it a happier place. So I'm hopeful that, because it's the most incredible tool and it's changed my life, and I live such a a cool existence now compared to where I was growing up. You know, I live in a nice house in West London now, whereas I grew up where we were all crammed into a small place on benefits, and you know, it's changed my existence. And as much as I love it and I respect it, it is a tool to be used. And as soon as it becomes a crux that you're addicted to, that's an issue. And I think we're kind of reaching that point where more and more people are the wrong side of that balance.
Yeah. Do you feel the need to reinvent yourself online at all? Do you feel the pressure?
Yeah, I do. I feel constant pressure being online. More so now than ever because I've got children, and so because I'm essentially freelance, right, and that's terrifying. Especially when you've got a family that depend on you. And so it's difficult to always be waiting on the next gig. You know, I'm constantly going, when's the next job coming through? And there is so much pressure there. Less the pressure to reinvent myself, because I've been fortunate enough that that's happened organically. Whenever I have something new I'm interested in, I've talked about it and my audience have gone, okay, cool, Jim's into that. And I think there's a difference now. People who are creating content now, it's much more transient. And as soon as you aren't providing that transaction for an audience, you're a fashion influencer, you must only do fashion. If you do anything else, the audience won't care. And inevitably, they will grow out of you and move on to somebody else. I have been really lucky that they've invested in me, so I've been able to sort of wear many hats. And so it's not odd for my audience to see me do a new thing, because it's just part of my growth as opposed to a reinvention. But I feel pressure more financially, I suppose, now, about making sure that there's so much more skin in the game. I've never really been bothered by the money. I've been fortunate that I've lived on I had this argument with my wife the other day, because she was like, you can't just be creative for a living. And I'm like, but that's all I've done. That's how I've got to where we are. Like, I don't know any other way. She's very different to me in that she is the number person in our house. So she's in charge of that stuff. And she, without her, it wouldn't operate. But equally without me, it wouldn't. You know, we make a good team. But it drives her nuts that I'm always head in the clouds, you know, and I'm thinking of the next big thing. And I don't know any other way than to use what's up here and get it out onto paper or onto screen or through camera or audio or whatever it is. That's just how I work. And so the money's always sort of followed, and it's never really mattered. But now I've got children, I'm thinking about Margot starts school before I know it. And nursery costs a fortune. And then every time I leave the house, and Sarah's also busy because she works as well, we have to get childcare in. And our expenses have, without exaggeration, quadrupled. And so now I care much more about the really boring stuff, you know?
Yeah. But today we're here to talk about style.
Yes.
Your style. So tell me about what you're wearing
Right.
and why you decided to put it on this morning.
Well, this morning I knew we were talking about style, so I thought this morning I took my daughter to nursery, and I have sort of two modes. I'm either at home with the kids, in which case I wear like sweatpants, and actually very rarely even a t-shirt, because I've discovered it's easier to get like the slop and the grime off your skin than off your clothes.
Your home must be lovely and warm.
It's just kids, like there's just stuff everywhere. So they'll be lucky if I've got clothes on my top half, because it's easier just to pick it off you. And then I took my kid to nursery in a hoodie that I found on the floor and some sweatpants. And it only occurred to me that, because I knew I was doing this podcast, and I saw some of the other dads dropping their kids off, and I was like, oh my God, they actually dress in outdoor people clothes, because I'm presuming they're going on to work, right? Whereas I was going back home to hop in the shower. But if I leave the house, I've kind of got like kind of a uniform.
Yeah.
You know, my stuff's pretty considered, it's pretty tailored. I know that I can pick pretty much anything out of my wardrobe almost at random, and it will work together because I've curated my wardrobe like that. So dressing me is really easy. Kind of put this on today. I have a million choices, but I was like, I quite like the colour. I haven't worn this one yet. I like the colour. And these trousers are part of a new suit I had, so I was just excited to to put them on for the first time.
And where's it from?
This is from Sunspell.
Yeah.
And it's glorious. I love it.
Yeah, you do a lot of work with them, don't you?
I love Sunspell. For me, they do basics really well.
Really,
which is
brilliantly.
Yeah, and it's kind of my whole aesthetic. You'll rarely see me in a logo or a big design. And they do clean basics that go with a lot of stuff, like just really, really beautifully. These trousers are from Jack Davison, who have made me a few suits in the past, and made to measure. They now have me on file, so I just go, hey, can you make me, and I...
But you have been on a sort of body transformation
Right.
journey. Has
Yeah.
that affected your
Try to clear out.
jacket,
Yeah.
shape, size, all
Yeah,
of that?
it has. I mean, the jacket I arrived in is now really snug, and I love it. But I've had it for a long time, and it's tight on the shoulders now. And if I do it up, it pulls a bit.
Yeah.
But I can't get rid of it just yet.
Yeah.
Because I love it. But yes, I'm now slightly bigger. I keep saying to people I'm finally in my big boy body because I'm 36. It took all this time. So yes, it has affected some of what I wear now.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in Norfolk with your mother and 3 siblings.
Yep.
I believe your father wasn't around that much.
He wasn't. He left. Well, he was forced to leave. I reckon I was 6 or 7, and he was kind of in and out from there.
Would you say you were affected by his style at all, or has it done the reverse?
I don't remember much of him. He was abusive, right? So there's a lot of it I don't recall at all.
Do you think you just blanked that out?
I mean, I was talking to my therapist about it recently. I was like, there's so much I don't have in there. Like, I can't remember his face very well, let alone his style. And my therapist was like, listen, you can unpick that if you want to kind of go back through it, but your mind has defended you from it for a reason.
Yeah.
So if you're happy living your life as you are, then why pick at it? And I am very happy living my life as I am. I don't require him. But my mum is the most stylish woman on the planet. And in fact, she's very much my gateway, my influence into style. She used to take me shopping with her specifically.
And where did you shop back in the day, in your childhood?
My mum used to have like a second-hand shop. Where people would come and bring their stuff, and it was
hers, was it?
It was hers and
cool.
and her best friend's. Ran out of her best friend's garage in the middle of nowhere. And actually, when everything kicked off with my dad, we lived with them for a while. They took us in for about 6 months or so. So my mum's commute was downstairs. But she's so elegant, my mum, and she's got such good style. So she used to want to take me shopping because my sisters were a bit older. And
was that men's and women's that she had?
Yeah.
So she only had women's in her second-hand shop?
Yes, yeah. So
I was going to say, that would have been like Kid in a Candy
Well,
Shop.
I was quite young.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember when it really happened for me, but my mum's a massive influence because she used to choose, it was my special time with my mum in that, and we didn't have lots of time with her because she was so busy looking after 4 kids who have different needs. You know, Sam's 10 years older than me, Nick is 7 years older than me, and I'm a twin. And she was on her own, making ends meet. She was constantly working or looking after one of us doing something, So it was my time with her where we'd go shopping, but really I didn't need anything. She'd go shopping and she'd ask my opinion, and she used to say to me, "You're so honest. You'll always tell me if you don't like it."
And is your twin the same?
No.
Or did she dress you in the same way?
When we were really young, we did the twin thing.
Are you identical?
No, but we look alike.
Yeah.
I always say that he looks like me, but just squished. So I'm 6'3". He's got all of my mass. He's a personal trainer. He's super strong. Like, he's in the best shape ever. But he's like 6 foot.
I'm sure the word squished would not
No,
probably spring to mind for him.
He's like me, but everything about him is sort of like a bit more condensed. You know what I mean? Like, his face is even a bit like more like this.
You squished him in the womb.
I think so, yeah.
It's all your fault.
Took up all the space. He was never really that bothered. I mean, he cares about how he looks, but he's much more just jeans and a t-shirt kind of guy.
I'm always fascinated by the twin dynamic.
That's so different.
Yeah.
And actually, it was a cause of conflict between us for a while. Not like big conflict, but in the way that all siblings
there's conflict
fight.
in any family.
Because we're from a small place and we were the twins, no matter what. And we're so different. So we had to share the same friendship group, and we were lumped in as sort of like one being.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went on to sixth form and university, and he went on to do his thing, and we went separate directions, that we're like, oh my God, actually, you're really cool. Because now we're not lumped in together, and we both had our own groups.
And your own identities.
Our own identities. Yeah. It's really nice to then come back together. But we are so different. We share the same core values, like, he's my best friend, I trust him with my life, and we have a lot of like the same stuff. But sense of humor's different, style's different, our lots about us is chalk and cheese, and it's actually really, really lovely.
Do you remember the moment that you first realised that clothes had an impact on your life?
I think there was a disparity between how I felt and what we had.
Yeah.
It was hard to have your own style as a twin because
Yeah.
we were dressed the same way. And as a teenager growing up in the 90s, we were just dressed in like the basic sort of baggy jeans, which is never really me. So it wasn't until I think I kind of like moved out and was buying my own clothes that I was like, oh, okay, right. I can see how this feels and how it works now. And I don't have to just pick from the three things that I own. So I think for me, it came with a sense of sort of autonomy to be able to be in charge of my own things. And I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, but I think for me that's when I realised how important it is to express yourself in that way.
You did a degree in psychology. What are your views on how we message through our clothes?
Again, people have been wearing clothes for a very, very long time. Further back than actually people realise, and it is a really, like I said before, it's the most simple and effective way of demonstrating who you are. It's a uniform for some people, right? It's jewelry, showing your status, you know. But I think for most people every day, it shows so much about you based on how you put yourself together. I tend to wear fairly tailored stuff because I'm quite a considered human being. And I like to think that as I'm walking down the street, strangers or people I know will look at me and go, oh, I can see the way you are based on what you wear. I'm not sloppy. I'm not walking around. I mean, I am when I take my kid to nursery. But if I'm out where people can see me, I'd rather look put together. I stand up a bit taller as well when I'm wearing nice clothes. And I like to think that I exude an atmosphere of intelligence, maybe, but something that goes, okay, he knows what he's up to. He's got confidence, you know.
Do you remember what you wore on your first date with Sarah?
I do. It was tricky actually because a lot of my stuff was in boxes at the time because I was midway through moving out. And I was packing because 2 days later I was going to the jungle. So everything was just sort of everywhere. But again, I kind of relied on the fact that I know that most of my stuff works together.
Yeah.
So I kept it really simple because I didn't know what she was going to wear. And we were only going to a bar. So I was like, I don't want to look over the top. So I wore jeans, but like nice, they were just black jeans, but nice, like simple. A blue sweater and a leather jacket. And it worked without being ostentatious.
Now, you got married to Sarah Tarleton in 2022. You had a beautiful wedding in Seville. But I read that you actually eloped earlier in the year.
Right. So in order to do it in Seville, there were so many hoops to jump through for like the legal part of it.
Yeah.
And it was so much like red tape. And we happened to be in LA. And we're like, should we just go to Santa Barbara to like, is the most beautiful registry office there? Well, should we just do that? So we rented a car. We got, as it happened, Sarah's aunt lived in America and happened to be in LA at the same time for like a conference or something. And we were like, hey, do you want to come along? And then we flew Sarah's mum over. So it was literally me, Sarah, Margot, our daughter, who was at the time really small, Sarah's mum and Sarah's aunt, and we crammed into this little rental and drove in the rain as well, which is like super romantic because it never rains out there, to Santa Barbara, the registry office.
And how long in advance did you know that you were going to get married?
We were discussing it. I mean, we knew we were already engaged.
Yes, but that you were going to get married in Santa Barbara.
It was fairly spur of the moment. We were discussing it, but we hadn't officially confirmed it until we got there. And then,
so did Sarah have a wedding dress in her bag?
She had a dress that she had bought. It wasn't like a wedding dress. I can't remember.
I'm getting clothing anxiety.
Yeah, I know.
Already.
She had a dress that she'd bought because we were discussing it, but it wasn't a wedding dress. It was like it was white, but it was short and it was gorgeous. But it was much more casual. And I usually have a suit with me wherever I go because you never know what I'm going to get up to. So I slipped that on. She put her dress on. And we just hopped in the car. Yeah, it was actually really, really lovely. And I'm so glad we did that because the other alternative was to do the registry office in Wandsworth.
Yeah.
Which is not the same story to
tell. No, but that sounds so romantic and personal.
Right.
And
yeah,
then...
we got a phone call from Sarah's granddad going, "Oh, so you're married then? Where's my invite?" I'm like, "Yeah, but that's the legal part. You're coming to the actual wedding. That's fine. That was just the bit we had to do."
Now, as this is a cheeky question, but as an influencer, did you have to spend anything on your wedding?
Yeah. There are some things that I won't try to hustle for, and that's kind of a bit of a crude way of putting it. I don't personally hustle for a lot. My management will do all that stuff for me.
Yeah.
And there were offers through. We did have some drinks catered for, which
Yeah,
is lovely.
because you represent sort of
Yeah,
booze
I was working
brands
with, at the time I was working with, I can't remember the brand now, blimey, that's gone out of my mind. We were working with an alcohol brand at the time, and they offered to provide some alcohol for the wedding, which is amazing. But we didn't owe anybody anything, and it's really, sometimes the freebies, then nothing's ever free, right? You have
There
to
ain't no
share,
free
or then you're
lunch,
off the list,
yeah.
and nothing, there's no such thing as a free meal.
Yeah.
And there are some things where I don't want to work for, and
Yeah.
my wedding day was one of them. I don't want to have to owe anybody anything. I just want to be present with my people. And so I see it online now where people do it. I understand why, because they're so expensive. But I want to have memories and not go look back at a time and think, oh yeah, I had to do that thing for that brand that day.
Yeah.
I had to work for it. It's just nice sometimes to not be online.
Yeah. And so what did you wear that day?
I wore a suit that it kind of bothered Sarah, because she was like, why aren't you getting a new one? I was like, because my suits are bespoke, some of them, and they're gorgeous. And the point of them is that you wear them repeatedly. There's no point in me buying another or getting another blue suit made when I already own a blue suit that is actually perfect for the temperature and the environment. And, so I had a beautiful P. Johnson suit that I've had for a while. And it's pinstripe and it's lightweight. And I just knew I'd slip it on. It'd work great. And actually, as it happens, I wore that one on our official wedding, the ceremony as well.
Nice.
And so, yeah, it was easy for me. Sarah's dress was gorgeous, but that's a much bigger thing to think about. And it's sort of like a one and done.
Yeah.
Whereas I would be silly, I think, to wear something else when I already have stuff that fits me perfectly.
Yeah. Does Sarah often comment on your style?
No. And actually, sometimes I'm like, Sarah, I always tell you or give you an opinion. If she looks nice, I'll tell her, but I will also say, oh, I'm not sure about that on you. And she appreciates honesty.
Yeah.
But she never really mentions it, ever.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a bit like, Sarah, come on. Like, do you even like me?
Stop it.
Yeah, no, but she doesn't. She has a bit of sort of self-consciousness around her own style. She's never sure how she feels in things, and how, I said to her before, talk to a stylist and get some like rules, because I don't understand women's wear, because women come in so many different shapes and sizes, whereas men tend to sort of be straight up and down, might have bigger shoulders, might have a bigger waist, but for the most part we come much the same.
Fundamentally, who do you think you dress for? Yourself, your wife, your audience?
For me, for sure. I'm fortunate that my audience like it. Sarah doesn't really seem to have much of an opinion. I walk downstairs, and if I'm dressed up to the nines for an event, even a tuxedo even, she will just go, okay. Or if I'm wearing something much more casual, she doesn't really say much. But I think I'd be silly to dress for my audience in a way, because my audience come to me for the way I like to dress.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would make a great deal of sense for me to reverse that.
Yeah.
And it's too late now. I like what I wear,
So would you say being stylish is important to you?
Yeah. But again, I think my style is very easy to achieve. And so it is really important, but it's not something I think about all the time. It's not something I worry about, because I think a lot of people who are stylish are always uncomfortable in what they wear. Either physically, either physically uncomfortable because their clothes are so highly fashionable that they're squeezing into it, or like it doesn't fit very well, or they're letting the clothes wear them. Do you know what I mean?
That's really interesting, because to me, the most stylish people are the most effortless.
Precisely. Yeah, that's what I mean. I think people who are truly stylish are comfortable in what they wear.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
Right. Whatever your personal style is. But I think people who are trying to be stylish or are so uber stylish that they're constantly on trend or whatever are usually uncomfortable, either because the clothes don't fit properly, or because they are so desperate to impress that it comes with a sense of concern or worry. So they are uncomfortable within themselves. And actually, I think that once you know the rules for the way you dress and the way your style works, it becomes so easy and it is effortless. And I throw things on, I walk out the door knowing I look great, but not thinking about it too much.
Do you have a style icon?
I'm very fickle. Yeah, loads. I have. This is going to be the most boring answer in the world, but I've got a real thing for like 50s Americana, like James Dean kind of thing, right?
I
Denim
thought
and
so.
leather
Yeah.
and classic shapes. But also British tailoring, where it's particularly soft tailoring. I don't want anything too, because I've got broad shoulders. I don't want anything too stiff. I like it to feel like these trousers are gorgeous, but then they're tailored, but they're not like stiff and tight. I'm not gonna say relaxed, but you're comfortable.
How would you describe your style in 3 words?
Uh,
Your style DNA.
I think considered. Everything I have has a place in my wardrobe. I don't buy things for the sake of it, thinking, oh, I'll wear that one day. Like everything has a purpose. Um, I'm going to use the word timeless because a lot of what I have had for a long time. And providing my body doesn't change too much, it will stay with me for as long as possible because there's no point in replacing. And also, that really helps with things like sustainability, right? Because I'm not constantly buying new things. Subtle, I think. I'm not there to stand out. I'm not there to sort of impress anybody. But it's almost like kind of like a stealthy operation in a way, in that
So understated.
understated. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to prove to anybody that I look great. You know, if they see the way I'm put together, they might think so. They might not. But I don't have a need to convince anybody that my style is cool because it's my style.
Tell me about your grooming, because I know that's something that's quite important to you.
Yeah, it is important, but I am very low maintenance. I get a haircut once every 3 weeks.
That's not low maintenance.
Well, you say that. It depends on men's hair at this length. It's low maintenance actually because my hair grows outwards rather than
Right.
it just gets big. And so as soon as I know it looks good, I know the next day it needs a cut. And that's kind of my highest maintenance thing is I get a haircut kind of every 3 weeks. Otherwise, I cleanse in the shower, I moisturize, and that's about it.
And sun cream.
I wear a lot of sun cream if I'm out and about. And in fact, my daily moisturizer has SPF in it.
Now, you've been on this sort of body transformation journey.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to when do you slow up on that?
Right.
Because it does affect how your clothes fit you,
Right.
particularly your tailoring, not your sweaters and.
Absolutely. No,
But do you have a sort of goal in mind, or somewhere that you'll say, okay, these shoulders are big enough?
I go by how I look in the mirror and how my clothes fit. My brother's my personal trainer. From a distance.
Amazing.
Yeah, from a distance. So he's back home in Norwich, but I've joined this program that he has. And so I go to the gym on my own and I do my stuff. And as long as I look okay, I don't really care about the scales. I don't really care about the numbers and the weights I'm lifting. It's primarily my time in the gym is my time where I'm nothing to anybody. It's my own time to be me. And it just so happens to come with a healthy, fitter body. And I can do things now physically that I couldn't do before. Like my knee doesn't hurt like it used to. One of my shoulders used to bother me. It doesn't anymore. I can throw my kids up in the air and it's great. It happens to also come with looking better, naked and in clothes. There is a point though where I put one of my suits on recently and it's a gorgeous suit. It's from Dunhill and it was entirely bespoke and I love it. And I put it on, I was like, oh, it's quite tight now on the shoulder. So I can get it adjusted, but the shoulders are the thing you can't adjust, right?
Yeah.
So I can get it adjusted around the chest. And when that starts getting, I can't replace it. So when I get bigger than that, that's going to be the issue. Because it's not that suit is necessarily the most important thing in my wardrobe, but if that doesn't fit and that is made for me, then nothing else will.
Have you ever used a stylist?
I get styled for shoots sometimes, but I've never had a stylist for personal use.
Have you ever been taken way out of your comfort zone in shoots?
No, when I'm on a shoot, I'm not really me. I'm sort of their piece of meat. And I enjoy that because I'm not in charge of anything. And I'm like, yeah, dress me, do what you want. You know, I kind of enjoy that sort of escapism. Sometimes I'm on a shoot and I style myself and that's great. But I actually prefer having a team of people who are in charge of all their separate operations, because if it were just left to me, I'd look the same in everything.
Yeah.
It's quite nice to have somebody else do it for me.
So you're a bit of a uniform man, aren't you?
Kind of, yeah, pretty much.
Did you wear a school uniform?
Yeah, I was the first year where they introduced like a blazer, and obviously we didn't have any money, so my mum bought one for me and my brother, so she had to buy it twice in about 8 sizes too big, thinking we'll grow into it. Yeah.
Let's talk about travel. Do you pay particular attention to your airport look?
No, I don't understand people that do.
Yeah.
I couldn't care less. I want to get from A to B as comfortably as possible. Particularly now I've got the children. I'm going to get stuff on me anyway. I don't care how I look at all on a flight. I don't even put anything in my hair. I wear a cap sometimes, or I don't, because I'm going to have the headphones on. Genuinely, it's one of those times. I was having a chat with my sister about it recently because she really cares. I'm like, why? Of all the places to be seen, like, I don't care.
Are you a good packer or a bad packer?
I'm the best packer in the world.
And humble too.
Yeah. Because I do it so often, I have a go bag, which has my passport and my wires and chargers all ready to go. And then...
Oh my God, you sound like a pregnant woman.
I am so efficient now. I'm going to Paris. Actually, I've got a lot of notices like in 2 weeks' time. But I know that I can get a call and go, hey, you're going somewhere tomorrow. I go, okay, cool, I'm ready.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I'm pretty good. I always end up overpacking.
Favourite luggage?
I have Rimowa in the bright yellow, which is so not my
Did you
my
buy
aesthetic.
that?
Yeah, because it's the first thing you see when it comes off the...
Now, are you never worried about your Rimowa luggage, your beautiful Rimowa luggage, being nicked off the belt?
No, I'm usually, because it's so bright yellow, it's so traceable. And I've also got one of those Apple ding dong things in it.
I must get one.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so sometimes I have my suitcase and it beeps at me. I'm like, whoa, because I forget it's in there. But I know I can track it if I need to. But yeah, bright coloured suitcase is one of the best things I've done in terms of travelling.
It's clever.
Yeah,
it's clever. Which brand would you say is your guilty secret?
I don't know if I have a guilty secret brand, because again, a lot of the stuff I wear, M&S is fantastic, Sunspell is fantastic. They both do a similar job at a different price point. And they're both very much my aesthetic. I don't really lean into big designers. I do have a problem with tailoring in that I always want more. And so that's probably my guilty secret, is that I'm always like, oh, I want a new suit, even though I don't need one.
And so where would be your first port of call for that?
Again, my Dunhill suit that I have is gorgeous, but it's so outrageously expensive. And I don't think I could ever wear it enough to warrant that. It really depends. I love Geeves, although Geeves is quite structured. I love Drake's. I've yet to have one in my collection, but I really am enjoying their aesthetic. It's super... I don't want to say slouchy, but it's soft and it just looks comfortable.
It's a bit unstructured, isn't it?
So unstructured. And again, because I've got broad shoulders and I hold myself well, I can wear unstructured without it looking sloppy. So again, it's expensive. So I've yet to sort of make the jump for one.
Guilty secret. What is the most expensive item of clothing that you've bought?
Probably that jacket that I turned up in, which is now really slim.
And tell me about that.
That's from Dunhill. I used to work with Dunhill quite a lot, and they have gifted me many suits in my time, but they were all off the peg.
Yeah.
And off the peg doesn't really fit me because I've got arms like a tarantula. And so they were always a little bit short. So most of those haven't survived the journey. And also they were very slim. The one that I have that's bespoke is gorgeous. But I'd always, because I was working with them a lot, I spent a lot of time in that store, and it's just gorgeous. And I saw that jacket, and it's pink suede. It's now not so pink because I had it for a long time, and the sun has faded it.
Let's talk about your approach to jewellery. You don't look like you were.
I don't wear a thing anymore.
Yeah.
I did for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't wear my wedding ring or anything. Partly because I'm spending a lot of time drawing and writing. And all that clickety-clack.
Yeah, it's annoying.
And then if I'm drawing, I'd kind of like my hands to be free. And I'm in the gym a lot, so I don't want to always take my jewellery off. And I've got like weird fingers where the knuckles are quite big, but the actual juicy bit is not. Getting a ring over my knuckles is hard work.
Do you wear hats at all?
Yeah. Quite often when I'm lazy and can't be bothered to do my hair. Or sometimes I just think it suits.
Hat of choice?
You usually wear a cap. But it's got to be a specific kind because I've got a tiny head.
So what type? Was it a
got to
Baker
have
Boy or?
No, just like a peak cap.
Yeah.
But it's got to have like a soft front because if they have that sort of that harder bit.
Oh, so you're talking like a baseball cap?
Yeah, like a baseball cap.
But
yeah.
so not a trucker's cap.
Not a trucker one, no, because suddenly it makes it comes up to here on me.
Yeah.
So I wear like a baseball cap, but it's kind of like soft. And I have a collection of them now. Actually, my go-to brand for them is Ami because they make them and they're the same shape. So I know the ones I'm getting every time, and I've got them in like 4 colors.
Let's just talk about sustainable fashion and your approach to it, which I think you sound like you're very into buy less, buy better.
Right.
But what do you do with your things when you've had enough of them?
We will either charity shops do really well out of us, me and Sarah, or I find if it's like a really gorgeous item, I will find a home for it. I'll ring a mate or I'll give it to my brother or someone because I'm like, it seems a shame to not give it a new home before it goes to charity. We do Vinted.
I was going to say, do you use any resale platforms?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Sarah does it all because she loves it, and for me, it's just admin. But she loves like being like this businesswoman about it, and I think it's hilarious. So we have like a pile, like the Vinted pile. But I would much rather rehome things and just send it to landfill.
And does she ever use any other resale sites? Because if you no longer love a suit, for example, something that's really
she does
Vestiaire
a bit. She is it called Her? It's
yes.
like a rental. Is that the rental one?
Yeah.
She does that quite a bit for things if we're going to an event. Because again, for a woman, it's more difficult, right? Because you can wear an outfit, but you're not expected to be seen in it again. Whereas for a man in a suit, if I don't rewear the suit, it's odd.
Although I think now, I would like to think that we are through that and actually it now looks clever.
I'd be inclined to agree, but even so, there are times where Sarah, for example, doesn't want to wear the same thing again. She wants to wear a different look, whereas I can rework a suit with a different shirt or different trousers. And so rather than buy it, she rents it.
Yeah, great.
And she looks good in everything, so it's actually really frustrating sometimes. Like, how do you just put it on and look like that?
What is the oldest piece in your wardrobe?
A jacket from Burberry, which is like a shearling one, which again I've had for a long time and is very expensive. And it doesn't quite fit anymore again, but I'm reluctant to let it go.
Vestiaire.
Yeah, I'm reluctant, but I have a thing where I don't care so much about the sentiment of my clothes. It might be a bit weird because a lot of people don't, but I don't do that with many physical things. My house, for example, it's lovely because it's my house, is where I live, but if I could move out tomorrow and not be bothered. My watches, I sold them. I don't have a great deal of sentiment around things. And so I love that jacket because it's beautiful, but not so much because of the brand. And so now it's getting a little snug. I'm going to give it this winter. And if I don't wear it this winter, it's gone.
It's gone. And just one final thing, glasses.
Right.
Because you wear them all the time.
I don't. I had laser eye surgery. I had LASIK about 8 years ago, and my vision was terrible, and it's been life-changing. But I wear them when I want to. These have got the blue light filter in them, so sometimes I wear them if I fancy it.
Sorry, what's a blue light filter?
Oh, you don't know this?
No.
Oh, okay. So blue light is like, it keeps you awake all the time. And if you're looking at a screen, they glare out a lot of blue light.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The blue light that comes off your phone or a screen.
Yeah,
so
it's sunlight.
Filters that out.
It filters that out, so you're less exposed to like light all the time. And we all get light pollution. And if in the evening you're watching a show or you're on your phone, it actually keeps your brain awake longer than it needs to be.
Fascinating. I had no idea that.
And
you
because
could get
I'm on my
lenses
laptop or my phone most of the day, sometimes I wear them. But also I like to wear them aesthetically.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a few frames that I really enjoy.
And where do you go for your
These
frames?
are from Blue Bloom, which are, I'd never heard of them until recently. And they're much heavier than I normally wear, but my hair's a bit longer than it has been recently, and I kind of feel like it's quite nice. So sometimes I just feel like I want to do something with my face.
Yeah. No, let's move on to some quickfire questions. What fashion advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Oh, it'll be okay.
Fashion trend you'd most like to see make a comeback?
I think it's already here. There's a real lean at the moment towards tailoring.
Fashion or beauty trend you would consign to room 101?
Oh, anything that's just tight. Just
So
too
you don't
tight.
do skinny jeans?
No, I did. I think everyone did. Looking back at it, I'm like, it's just uncomfortable, and like, it's also it's not. You're supposed to be able to move your body in clothes. That's the point of them.
Your last impulse buy?
I don't buy impulsively.
That's really refreshing and positive. I love that. Views on tattoos?
I don't have any personally. And listen, I'm really creative. It's what I do for a living. It's what I love to do. And so I can totally appreciate body art on certain people. But for me, I just don't think it would fit my aesthetic. It wouldn't suit me.
Grooming treatment you couldn't give up?
Just the haircuts. I'm very easy.
High end or high street?
Buy what you can afford.
Minimalism or maximalism?
Minimalism.
Crocs, cute or puke?
I'm a big fan of the Birkenstock mules, which are croc adjacent. They're the same sort of like shape, but they are. I like to think that the mules are maybe like a thinking man's croc.
Do you have the sheepskin lined ones?
No, they look comfy though.
Love those.
They're like my most worn shoe. 'Cause
I
if I'm
live in those.
popping out to the shops, just slip my feet in, I'm off.
Sambas or gazelles?
They're the same thing, aren't they? I can't tell. I couldn't tell the difference.
Well, they were until Rishi wore them.
Right.
Sports luxe or rock and roll?
Rock and roll.
Chinos or cargos?
That's a tough because I don't really like either.
Savile Row or jeans?
Savile Row.
Trend or style?
Style all the way.
Colour or monochrome?
Colour if you can do it right.
Pattern or plain?
Plain.
Experimental or uniform?
Uniform, but when you've got a uniform, you can then start to experiment, right?
Cashmere or cotton?
Cashmere.
Hoarder or editor?
Editor.
Charity shop or resale?
Resale.
Boxers or briefs?
Boxers.
Budgie smugglers or board shorts?
Oh, two ends of the spectrum. I would rather. Oh, I don't know. This is a tough one to answer. I'm gonna have to go board shorts because but actually I wear sort of like I don't know what you call mid thigh. You know, the normal length ones. Neither the really tight ones and neither the long ones.
Beanie or baseball cap?
Baseball cap.
And finally, traditional question at the end of the day, what
Right.
do you or don't you wear in bed?
If I'm at home, nothing. If I'm somewhere else, it's probably impolite. So I will then sleep in my pants.
Jim, thank you, so much. What fun to hear all about your
Thanks for having me.
style secrets and go on a style journey with you.
Thank you.
What fun.